This week we're going into a training and it's all about how to build momentum inside of your mission brand. We're going to talk about the definition of momentum. We're going to talk about overcoming business inertia. We're also going to talk about different actions that you can take to build this precious momentum. We're also gonna go into the topic of not all actions are the same, and yeah, and of course, sharing stories as well from the embodied codes that I have around this. As usual, this is like this space where it is a more intimate get together, and if you are here with us live, drop a comment in the chat. It's always so amazing to feel you here with me, and I love when you interact, because then it's like we always get to live this moment, right? So if you are here live, drop a comment in the chat box, let me know where you're joining us from, and here we go. Mission Soul family. Beautiful. So let's start by the beginning, talking about what is momentum. Momentum is defined as the force gained by motion, the force gained by motion or by a series of events. Inside of our mission brands and inside of your mission business, momentum is something really, really precious. And for those of you who are familiar with launches, for example, which is the process we go through to call souls and bring souls into our programs, services, one-on-one mentorships, you name it. Momentum, launching is a type of momentum that we strategically build. So momentum is definitely not something that appears magically in your brand. It's something that you get to strategically build. So this is what we're talking about today. When you launch, as I was saying, like that's a way in which you can build momentum inside of your brand. However, I'm gonna bring different perspectives here to this conversation, because what I see for you is that you live inside of this beautiful mission where momentum is an ongoing thing. Because when you learn to do this right, it doesn't, and it's not linked to, let me this come in full force because I am selling something. When it's something that you sustain, you reap higher fruits, higher rewards. All right. So, and this is kind of like, if you think about it, when we go on a bike, at the beginning, it's like, it's hard. It's like, how do you do this thing? But as you start pedaling, right, it takes a moment to get into this balance. But once you have balance, thanks to the motion, thanks to the movement, you can pretty much go on autopilot. You can pretty much coast. And so this is like the holy grail inside of our brands. And it doesn't mean that you stop. This doesn't mean that you stop nurturing your audience, that you stop selling or offering things, that you stop showing up and releasing amazing content. It's not what it means, but what it means is that with little actions, you get more benefit, and you get to harvest even more results. So this is the type of momentum that we get to create inside of our brands. Give me a yes if this makes sense, where it's like, yep, I get it. At the beginning, it's like not moving, then we start moving, and then by taking the right action, if your bike is properly oiled, if you know how to do this and how to have a proper rhythm for yourself, you get to keep riding the bike and pretty much coast, it becomes easier and you enjoy the full benefit of it. So this is what we're talking about today, my beautiful souls. So having said all of this, we cannot talk about, okay, so the first thing that I want to share with you is like this concept called inertia, right? So now we talk about the movement. Now we talk about the force that comes with movement. But just like with the analogy of the bike, there is a stage where there is no movement. And when there is no movement whatsoever, it's always gonna be harder to bike, right? To find this equilibrium. Same in business. This is what we called business inertia. And this is why it's so important that you learn how to overcome business inertia. Because the more you get to master this art, and the more you learn how to, okay, if for some reason you get into some level of inertia, the more you learn how to overcome these moments, the easier you get to build momentum and things start happening inside your mission. So many people are experiencing inertia in their businesses because, well, they are not moving. They are stuck in their heads. They are trying to figure too many things out. And as a result, they don't move. The problem with the lack of movement is that when you get used to stay in a state of inertia, you're going to feel that it takes a lot from you to start moving. Whereas if you, instead of this, and so like what's so interesting also is that for some people, and I've seen this also through the years working with amazing leaders and seeing the way they launch, is for some people this can also look like they start moving, they do a big launch, then they burn out, then they crash, then they need to pause, they ghost their audience, there's no more show up, they were displaying, they were coming out in full force, and then all of a sudden it's like, where is she? Where is he? And give me a yes and drop a yes in the chat, or comment with the word inertia if this is landing. And you have also witnessed this for other people where it's like, oh my God, they were every day on my timeline and I see the reels and I see this and I see that, and then all of a sudden like they disappear, right? When you enter into these states of inertia also, it's very tricky. And this is what I want to, this is why this is a very important conversation for us to have. And my intention is that you get to really ingrain these codes at a conscious level, and also from everything that I'm going to be bombarding you with, broadcasting, sharing with you at a codes level, so that it looks like more ecological and you live in a state of motion, because this is where the magic happens for you, right? So when the problem, as I was saying, when you enter into inertia and you get used to being in a state of inertia inside of your mission, is that here's where all of the thought patterns come. Here is where self-sabotage comes. And the next thing you know, it's like you have way too much time to listen to any paralyzing belief, to fears, to doubts. And it is normal to have doubts, and it is normal to have fear. But what we want and what we need when we are building and growing missions is to move even when we experience fear or doubt. We need to keep having movement. So in my view, and now that I've received and I paid top money to be in the space of different mentors, and I have also supported business mentors and other type of coaches with big brands, And the one thing that I definitely like have incorporated, and I've, like I truly believe, is that the best type of momentum is sustained momentum. It's kind of like, you're flying, you grab the current, you found your flow, and then you can coast. And coast doesn't mean, again, not doing anything, but it means like things that feel more effortless, as opposed to build momentum crash. How we do this is through the power of consistency. And so I want to talk a little bit about discipline and consistency. And sacrifice, why not? These are words that are like, especially in a world where it's like, oh yeah, the feminine flow and everything needs to be in flow and all of that. Building something takes work. And sometimes it's going to take sacrifice, and sometimes it's going to take discipline. And we need to be okay with it. And this is not a scarcity, shitty talk about it needs to feel like you're sacrificing, like you're stopping to live, like you're endless hours in front of the computer. That is not what I'm talking about. And so I call on your discernment, and I trust that you get this. But for sure, when it comes to sacrifice, what I'm talking about is that, well, depending on how fast you want to grow, depending on how serious and how your fire is burning in your belly, and you want to see your magic in the world being displayed, and you want to touch hundreds and thousands of lives, it takes something. So that sacrifice sometimes looks like investment. That it looks like there is something that you're not giving to yourself right now. Maybe you're not traveling as often because that money is required by the mission, and the mission is a baby. So it requires food, it requires shelter, it requires attention, it requires all of that, right? And so just wanted to say this because, again, like, I do not believe that, it's healthy that we constantly put in the space like, oh, it's easy and I did this, like if it's nothing happens overnight, right? It's like you don't get to harvest and like carrots, beets, even some basil, cilantro, whatever, if you don't put the work, and there is and you don't water the soil, and you don't prepare the soil, and you don't take the sun, and you look for the plants. Everything takes work, right? Now, having said that, then we come into discipline. And so to me, discipline is a form of self-love. And I think I heard this from Julie Andrews one, and it's like her quote is like, I don't know what's the big thing about discipline. To me, it's another form of self-love. And give me a yes if that makes sense. Drop the word self-love in the chat so that I can know that you are here with me and that you are receiving this. And when you've never done something, as I always say, like in order to have something that you've never had, you need to become someone that you've never been. And so this journey of becoming, from zero to you build a brand, there is momentum, people are joining your programs easier, all of this gets to be built with consistency. And at the beginning, it takes some massive commitment, discipline, and, well, the highest form of all of this, and this is the higher expression, devotion. Because devotion is what really, really, really makes you do this from this space of love, right? So with devotion, it's like, of course, you're gonna have discipline, and discipline can feel like masculine, or it can feel like a little bit contracting the word, and I get it, I really do get it. And so we can also look at this through the lenses of devotion. But a form of devotion is gonna be like, man, you're there, you're putting the work, right? So the best form of momentum is the one that you build through consistency. And in order to be consistent with something, you want to, okay, I'm gonna share my own journey when it comes to this, because I think it's gonna be like really, really beneficial for all of us. And let's go there. Um, there was a time in my life when I thought that I was really that I was a an inconsistent person. There was a time in my life where I launched a brand that it was more than a brand, it was an energy, but it also showed up as a brand. It was called Lista para Brillar, and it was a movement also in my beautiful Costa Rica, and people started joining. And pretty much live events where women, strong women that didn't buy into the victim mentality and utilize their circumstances to thrive in their lives, entrepreneur women, like all of this would come together and share codes, share teachings, stories, skills, trainings. And all of that came from my desire of wanting to be surrounded by amazing people. But that was in the same frequency bandwidth, because where I used to live, I didn't have any of this. And I understood that in order for us to really grow and cultivate, a new identity, we need to be surrounded by people who are in the same frequency. You become your environment pretty much, right? And so I was working for a lot of clients. I had, my daughters were really, were little. This was like 6 years ago. So they were like, younger than 10, right? Now the light is gone. So let me do something. I love to have more light. And, I was working for a lot of clients. I was raising my kids. I was running my household by myself and organizing these events. And at the end of every event, like I would leave a little bit drained, and I would have to organize everything, the chairs, and go with my little vehicle, the whole thing. And then one day I announced the next event, which funny enough was gonna be called Ready to Receive, and it never happened. It was postponed a month, then it was postponed again, and then it just simply never happened. And the reason why it never happened was because, yeah, I was burning out, and I was like, okay, if I keep putting so much energy into that, I could lose my current clients, and then I won't have food on my table, right? So I let that go. It was like, okay, I cannot humanly. I was already like stretching a lot. And then from there, I kind of like got this imprint that I was an inconsistent person. When in actuality, what happened is that, yeah, I was a very highly functional burnout human. And since then, and after that, what I decided in my heart is that I would never launch anything again until I knew that I could keep up, because I had tried to do a project before that, but I was really young. I didn't know what I was doing, so I couldn't be consistent with my content. Then I launched these events, but then I had to stop. And so 6 years later, until today, when I launched my brand, the first thing that I told myself is, I'm not going to invest into working with anyone, and I'm going to invest into a mentor until I can make sure that I can be consistent. And once I can prove to myself that I can post at whatever frequency, right? So let's say 3 times a week was my golden number. Once I prove to myself that I can post for weeks uninterruptedly for at least 3 times a week, then I'll know that I can keep up and that I can do this, right? And this is related to building the muscle of self-trust, which was an amazing topic for another Mission Soul Live recently. And so now that after I did that, I hired a mentor. I hired a mentor for almost 16 grand US before I was making that money. I had made that money in sales, but not received it all fully. And my expenses are big, right? Like I have big expenses. I obviously have another business, but that was like, it was a huge investment. And the reason why I did it is because I trust myself, right? This is something I've talked a lot also. And so inside of my co-creation in for the last months, right? One of the most beautiful things that I got to learn from this human, and this is like one of my mentors, Gabby, she always talks about how, in the new earth, it's not gonna be like we are going to continue to use money. At some point, we are not going to use money. So maybe that's going to happen in a few years. Maybe that's going to happen for next generation. Maybe that's going to happen this year, But anyway, in the higher realms, it's like, in 5D Gaia, we are going to exchange codes, right? And one of the reasons that I really wanted to work with this person is because I saw that she had very massive codes that I could totally bring to my life and to you guys, because I only invest in the best of the best of the best, because I really care about the people that works with me. And so, like, of course, when you hire someone, you hire every person that this, it's like every mentor I've paid for, like over 100K already invested in mentorships and stuff, courses. It's like you get access to all of them. And so over the last months, it's been a beautiful journey on, learning how to not only stay consistent, but also learn how to also build the best type of momentum, as I said before, which is the one that you can build by being really, really, really consistent. And it's been a journey. One of the things that I do want to say at this point is that when you want to build momentum inside of your brand, there are two windows that you want to look into. One of them is the action that you take, and the other one is, the potency of the action. Not all actions are the same. These weeks I've been auditing and editing accounts and providing ideas, and that series is live on my Instagram page on how to build, how to position your mission brand using content. And one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people are posting, but they are not doing it strategically. They are not doing it the way that people consume content inside of the platform they are using. And so it's like not every action is the same. And this leads me to the next thing, which is like, there is the action and there is the refinement of the action. And this matters a lot. And this is the reason why some people have been taking the action, but seeing no result, because they are not working strategically, which is the other element. Remember, like I told you, is the action, but it's the strategy behind the action. They are not doing it strategically. They are just seeing what sticks, pretty much like throwing spaghetti on the wall, and making all kinds of mistakes. And so it's like no real momentum gets to be built, right? This is why it was so important, like, to bring all of this topic. And so now it's like I learned the move, right? I was in it's one-on-one mentorship is the absolute best. To me, it's like, my goodness, I love masterminds. They're very potent. But when you are one-on-one with a mentor, with a person that has taken the journey, that has supported others and whatnot, it's so delicious, especially when you freaking know where you're going, like myself, right? Like when you know where you're going, and it's like you want that extra level of support and closeness, because it is by being close that you really absorb those codes, right? And so I learned the action. Then I went on the journey of refining the action. Then I went on the journey of making that action mine. It's not something that, so-and-so says that you need to do. It's like something that feels right in my body, right? And so now it's like the three things. It's the right action, it's the refined action, And it's an action that you have made yours. And this is something beautiful that we also get to do inside our marketing, make it ours. And this is where more flow starts happening. And then, but what happens, and this is one of the things that I highly appreciate from my journey of being in this space of, being in Quantum Magic School by Gabi Kowalski and going through the Quantum Practitioner certification, and I'm, being on the path of ascension and evolution for the past 5 years, pretty much, is that when you don't get to, when there's a hard week, when there's a tough week, when something happens, or when there is a project and you cannot commit to the same frequency, or the action is there but it's not as refined, some people in the 3D matrix will use this as an opportunity to hate upon themselves and poo-poo on themselves, pretty much like being like making it mean something and something bad about you. And this beautiful code that I integrate in my work and I integrate in my everyday life and that I want to share with you is the code of self-love, right? And so it's like, this was my intention. I didn't go to post that much, or maybe like the content wasn't like as I would have wanted, whatever it was. Self-love invites us on a journey of not making shit about us, not making any story, not making it mean anything. And just like hold on to the timeline, hold on to what you're building, and then you bounce faster, as opposed to just going into the spiral of your thoughts and you're this and you're never gonna be where you want to be, blah, blah, blah. We don't want that. We don't need that. So what I'm sharing with you is both. Learn the action, refine the action, make it yours, and then also when apply it from the heart, applying to your human capacity, but freaking push yourself. That was my other light. Oh my goodness. Let me just see if I can do something right here. Yeah. Make it yours, right? Find your rhythm, push yourself, because my goodness, we are so much more capable than we think we are. But at the same time, if things don't go as planned or whatever it is, or something happens or you get sick, or don't make it mean anything, and always use the key code of self-love to bounce back faster. So a few weeks ago, for example, I had this thing where, not many people talk about this, but when you are on the first stages of business, as I said, sometimes there are sacrifices that you freaking do. Sometimes there are extra jobs that you need to have, or extra contracts that you need to take in order to pay for, things. As I said, I had this mentorship, I had a big payment plan. And so I took on a job on a client, on a contract to help him go pretty much from zero to launch. And I created his website. And creating websites is something that I can do and I don't love doing, but I did it and it wasn't pleasant, and it completely deviated me from creating amazing content and showing up in the same way in my socials and whatnot. But it was what I needed to do. And then the rest, I was looking after my daughters, I was looking after my relationship, I was looking after myself. And there were moments where it felt hard. It felt like I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling of doing something that I didn't necessarily love. I was 100% making a sacrifice, and I knew the end date. And it's not like I live in constant sacrifice, or I believe that it only needs to be through sacrifice. It's not what I'm talking, right? But I had to do what I had to do. And there were moments where it was this is shit. This is absolutely fucking shit. Excuse my French, but it's no. But I went with it. I did it. I did what I had to do. I harvested the fruits of that, right? It was a few $1,000s for the contract. So it was worth it, right? And then this week, guess what? My content is spot on. I'm building a freaking ton of momentum inside of my brand. I'm receiving new followers daily. I'm receiving money daily. People are joining the membership, and I'm expanding my mission. And so, if this is landing for you, drop a heart emoji in the chat. If you love like these little stories, we keep things real inside of this space, especially here on these lives. And as usual, right? But we get to go a little bit more intimate and deeper during Mission Soul Life. So, having said all that, it's like, it's like sometimes we go through this, but the thing is that it is so easy to reach the top. Like if you train really hard, if you do all the right stuff, you can reach the top. But usually after reaching the top, this is like climbing mountains. You climb one mountain, but then in order to go to the second mountain, you need to climb back down. And then you will have to climb back up. Who you are is not determined by who you are when you're climbing up. It's usually by who you are when you're climbing down. Because these moments where, it's like things happen and whatever it is, there's like, this is life, there's things happen, someone comes and insults you on social media. It's like, when you're coming down, these are the moments that really define you. So this is when we get to apply self-love, love upon ourselves, remember who we are, remember that we are here for the long run. And, the next thing you know, you're climbing up again, right? So now I'm gonna go and share a few things on a few actions that you can implement right now to start building momentum inside your brand. All right, so this is very exciting. These are all things that I've done, I've seen other people do and whatnot, and so like I'll share as much as possible. And let me have a sip. So one of the best ways to build momentum that I love the most, especially when I think about building momentum to pivot or to position myself on something, on a specific topic as the expert on something, it is with content, more specifically creating a theme series of lives. This is something that I've done several times inside of Mission Soul. I did this at the beginning. It brought so many amazing soul aligned tribe, and when I launched my first program and then my second program, people joined. So within months, I was already, receiving humans, and this came from creating a series under a topic. So for example, I've created one called What Nobody Tells You, about building a brand as a spiritual coach, something like that. And so like sharing all the secrets and all the things that happen when, that you don't hear a lot about. And all of those lives are on my Instagram. There was another one that was all about attracting clients through consistency of posting and clarity of message, something like that. That one was amazing. These get to be coded transmissions. So you basically want to grab a topic and then you go live on the topic, and it's pretty much like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, right? So that really serves to go deep on a topic and for people to get to know you about something and build momentum that it really serves towards launch. That's one amazing way. Of course, posting with consistency, it's an amazing way to build momentum. And the more you do it, the more the algorithms catch that, okay, this chick is talking about the same thing. And, it's like there's a theme here. There's a frequency of posting. Like they notice all of this, and then they show your content to other people, right? Another very cool way to build momentum inside your brand is by creating a live event. So, and this I talk with all of my clients, and especially in private mentorship, where it's like this ratio where you get to do 60% online, and 40% offline. So, for example, think about a free workshop, think about a 1 day retreat, think about a 3 hour, workshop, um, think about a meetup, think about something like this. It really serves to connect with other people in the same frequency that live in the same place where you live. And one of the biggest things that you can do if you decide to do this and implement this strategy is to have a photographer take photos of the event. So you're going to promote the shit out of that event to have as many humans as you can. You're gonna show up as, the version of you that already holds that big, beautiful mission, brand, and empire, and have someone come and take photos of you and the group and you teaching, and then you want to use all of that in your marketing materials. This is an amazing, amazing way. This is how, for example, when I launched those events in Costa Rica, the very first time, actually with each and every event, we had a photographer come, and this built a lot of momentum. And to this day, it is actually an energy that is there, and it is one brand that I am 100% going to develop in Spanish once I stabilize into my routine and into my moves inside of that I take for Mission Soul, right? And to bring myself to a certain level and the whole thing. That one is for Latin America. The fourth action that I want to share with you is you can build momentum by bringing people and going live with other people in your industry. And this is really going to serve your visibility, all right? So that is another way, like you talk to people, they come live, and this is a way in which you can expose to new audiences. And the last way that I want to share with you inside of this episode is, so this is really cool. So it's like to action your spontaneous ideas. So, I always talk about how doing this whole mission thing is a form of soul art expression. And I talk about this, and I say about, I talk about it gets to be joyous, it gets to be fun, because I breathe this, because that's how I truly operate this. And yes, I do have moments that feel like discipline, they feel like work, of course, right? But when it comes to the part of expression, this is the nicest part, because if you think about it, this is your canvas, this is your form of art. So something really cool that happened, and this happened the day before yesterday. I was doing something, I don't even remember quite well. I was preparing some documents because I'm gonna get my Canadian visa, and I needed to go and bring my passport to the post office. And then I thought, why don't I just ask my humans, my tribe, if anyone wants an audit where I'm gonna help them repurpose content that they have already put out there. So this is for the ones that have already posted content, and give them 3 ideas that they can utilize of content pieces that is going to serve their mission brand positioning, right? And I just dropped that post inside of this group, and like 6 people replied, or 5. Then I did the same on my Instagram stories later on, and I have like 10 people piled up. And then the next day, which was yesterday, I created the first audit. And today I posted the second audit, and I have a third one that is gonna come out soon. The first one was for Sarah, the second one was for Tanisha, the third one is for Luz. And so I've had so much fun making them. It's like you do them with the green screen, and it's so cool. And they are bringing new people, right? They are showing my brand to new people. They are showcasing my expertise. So if this action in one way or another can inspire you, by all means, right? Then like the last one that I actually, let me do this, say this as the last one now, because it's very obvious. Like something that you can do is what I'm doing right now. You create something that is offering for your community. So this can be a podcast, or this can be a community event. I really like community events like this one, like Mission Soul Life, which happened inside of the Facebook group. And the reason why I love it the most is because, as I said, it's kind of like more intimate. It's fun, and the whole strategy behind it is, well, this is pretty much like if you guys and I were dating, this is kind of like we graduated to a deeper level, like I've had people follow me on Instagram and find me on Instagram and follow me for a while, and really and building trust because they see that I consistently provide high value for them, and I don't deviate from my topics, and I am about light worker entrepreneurs, and I'm about mission business, I'm about New Earth, the quantum, client attraction, all of this. And then they graduated and joined this beautiful Facebook group. And if that is you, like write, I don't know, like comment below with graduated, right? So this is something very nice because it gets to deepen the relationship, right? So in marketing, right, it's all about this kind of actions that you make that deepen the relationship more and more and more, right? And so of course, so many of you are inside the membership, and etc., etc. So all of these are beautiful ways in which you get to build momentum. And the long-term vision with momentum, as I was explaining at the beginning, is pretty much like to bring ourselves to this space where in a couple of years or in 3 years time, right, your people are like the level of trust and the level of love and the level of we grow together has exponentially grown. This is why having, if you have a digital business, if you do your life, your mission through the online space, man, like you're sitting in gold. Because when you grow in the online space, when you grow with a digital mission business, the growth is exponential. To put a simple example, for me, it was harder to grow from 0 to 200 than from 200 to 300. It was faster. Now you multiply that by the thousands, right? It's like, because the actions that you have taken and set in place in the infrastructures, right, compound over time. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my goodness, more people are joining the membership, more people are inside the Facebook group, etc., etc., etc. So think about momentum, actions that bring momentum, as actions that really create some just like the definition is the force gained by motion. So it's the moves that create the force, right, and allow you to show up in full force in front of your audience, etc., etc. Think about it as like, my invitation to you after this training is that, and my hope for you is that you can find the actions and the right actions for you that you can sustain over time, so that it's not like you do visibility seasons. No, you are always visible, so that you don't do launches and then disappear. No, you're always adding value, and there is always that sum that you are offering constantly, etc., etc., right? So think about actions that light your soul on fire, that make you feel like it gets to be fun. Stick to them. Like, this is like one episode of Mission Soul Life. And this is the other thing. I promote this event. I don't expect people to be excited if I'm not excited. I am freaking excited. There have been days when I love to do this on Tuesdays. This past Tuesday I couldn't, but I'm showing up on Thursday. What matters is I'm showing up. Because remember that when you stop, especially if you are not anchored in unifying templates of self-love and beautiful ascension codes, beautiful light codes, like you can really, instead of the momentum, experience a true setback. Because the right thoughts can come, the wrong thoughts, the wrong programming, and then the next thing you know, you're making this mean like, oh my God, I was inconsistent for a week, or I was inconsistent for 2 weeks, and I'm a terrible person. I said that I was gonna do this and I didn't do it. The more you can move past through that, or however you say it, with self-love, and yeah, okay, it's not your standard, but you don't make it mean anything about you. The faster you bounce back and you keep building momentum. Sometimes we stop, and there is a reason for that, right? Or we decrease the frequency of whatever it is that we're doing, or maybe the potency. But if somehow you're still, injecting drops of water, injecting the energy, just staying there with the intention and knowing what's going on, knowing it's temporary, whatever, you keep moving forward, right? Sometimes momentum feels like woo, and sometimes it feels like it's slower. But as long as it's going, girl, you have it. Or men, if you're some of the men that are inside of this tribe. So yeah, that, right? And the real thing that can really how they say that when you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. There's no such thing as staying still. The only thing that can really throw you back and backwards is it's you. And but in the sense of what I was sharing before, your mindset, unhealthy beliefs, or taking the opportunity to not be loving on yourself. And the best thing you can do is just self-love, remind yourself of your standards, and continue to move forward. The last thing I want to say about this beautiful topic that I love, and if you love this topic, share it with me in the comments as well when you watch the replay, #replay, is try to cultivate things outside of your brand, where you stay consistent and you are gaining some and experiencing and building some sort of momentum. For me, that is the gym right now. It's very important that we do weight training. It's important that we feel strong in our bodies for many, many reasons. But on top of all of that I love my body and I want to look even more amazing and the whole thing, I challenge myself at the gym. I do heavier weight. I do more repetitions. When I think I can't do another repetition, I do another freaking repetition. So find areas in your life where you can also cultivate this sense of discipline, consistency, and momentum. I love you so, so much. Have a look at the audits. Today I'm going to share 2 more inside of the group. All of them are on Mission Soul on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, that's our home on Instagram. Why are you waiting? And we see each other very soon. More amazing things are going to come for the month of June. Thank you to those that were here live with me. And for those who are on the replay, share your biggest takeaway. I love you so much. Sharing from my codes and from my soul to you. And until next time.